Hello, 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 everyone. This is Coach Marsha coming to you on this Monday evening. And how's everybody doing? How was the work day? You know, I missed my time earlier today because like a lunchtime girl for our lives. But I missed my time. I was extremely busy today. And so I said before I shut everything down that I will make sure so if I don't tune in at 12 o'clock, I was most definitely tune in at 6 o'clock. So this week, I'm going to tune in at 6 o'clock with the Let's Talk All Things VA with Coach Marsha. And today, what we're going to be talking about is VA disability claims, the types of service connections, and other VBA, which is Veteran Benefits Administration claim types. That's VA disability claims, types of service connections, and other VBA claim types. And VBA is the Veterans Benefits Administration. So we're tuning in live today on, I have Instagram over here to my left, and then I have Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube out here, right here before me. So let's get started, right? So, I'm always coming with notes because I want to stay on track, right? And so, let me introduce what we do because I get on here, just get to talking, don't talk about who I am, what I do. I'm Coach Marsha. If you are still a veteran, and you're still a veteran, it's an organization that has been created to service all veterans, regardless of character or discharge. And one of the pillars that we focus on is education, right? And so going forward, 3 days out of a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, which I'm leaning towards 6 p.m. or either 12 p.m. We'll come here with our segments. You all will know in advance what we'll be talking about. So you can save the date, you can set your alarm clocks, because my goal is to educate you. When I served in the United States Army, I was a non-commissioned officer. And one thing that was important about no matter what your MOS was or is that you have to know the regulation, right? You have to know your job. You have to be technically proficient, right? Tactically and technically proficient. That's one of the duties of a non-commissioned officer. And so, with that being said, that has rolled on over here, that same principle, those same guidelines rolled on over to that of being the business owner of You Are Still a Veteran. And I felt that it's important that the veterans are educated on the whys, right? I have some good stuff coming out for you all. Some of the topics, let me get here, that we're going to cover is um, intent to file versus fully developed claim, what happens after you file your claim, understanding VA Form 21-4138, which is a statement in support claim, how to prepare for your CMP exam, reading your VA decision letter, Appeals 101, HLR, which is higher level reviews, supplemental board reviews, commonly claimed conditions and their ratings, what is a nexus letter, secondary condition connection explained, presumptive conditions in the PAC Act, mental health claims, whether it's PTSD, military sexual trauma, anxiety, and depression. What goes into that? Understanding VA math, what is a TDIU and how do I qualify for it, and a host of other things. But one thing that I'm really excited about doing, which I will more than likely launch the month of August, is understanding the 38 CFR Part 4 schedule for rating disabilities. So we're going to go over the introductory part of it, and then what I'm going to do over each condition or contention that which is the terminology that VA uses for it. We're going to go over each one, right? And I'm telling you, so August, September, October, probably on until the end of the year, is going to be like very impactful. So if you're out there and you want to know like what it is, I mean, for those who I know Army, I know for us it's Soldier of the Month, Soldier of the Year promotion board, right? So with that's the process, that's the concept that we take here, the model that we use here for our veterans when as we're preparing them for CMP exam. It's like squad leader preparing her squad leader for promotion board, right? But before you get to the promotion board, you always have to, you got to get your study in, right? You got to learn about like, hey, what's going on in the world? You got to go through those regulations, whether it's ARs, whether it's field manuals, you know, those regulations specific to your job in some cases, like those regulations, and who better to help you assist you with that process where you sit and do those boards where you sit and study is with a battle buddy or your squad leader. And so, and that is my role, acting as a squad leader for every veteran that comes through these doors. And so with that being said, let's get this thing started, right? So VA disability claims, types of services, connections, and other VA claim types, right? So the first one we're going to go with is direct service connection. The disability was incurred or aggravated during military service. An example I have, a soldier develops tinnitus from repeated exposure to loud artillery fire during service. The condition is documented in service and continues post discharge. Okay, they say, okay, Marsha, Coach Marsha, but if it wasn't documented in service, what happens is then you will have to do what they call a buddy statement or a lay statement, right? A lay statement. And in that lay statement, some of the things that I will point out is your MOS, right? I will like we will talk in detail what entails, what what is the meat? What is the substance of that MOS? What do you do? Where did you go? What are the different things? What is the, do you recall the first time you began to hear the ringing in your ears? That's important. And then we will document that, outline that, you know, and that's either through a lay statement or even communicating to your now, since you're out of service, your now current primary care provider, right? Because you want a diagnosis. You got to remember over in the other classes, we talked about, in some of our other sessions, we talked about the importance why to have a diagnosis. When we was talking about the difference in a CMP exam and your primary care provider. Okay, next, secondary service. Oh, hold on. Direct service. The first one was our direct service connection. The second one is going to be our secondary service connection, right? And it's a disability caused or aggravated by a service connected condition. Example, a veteran is service connected for a knee injury, right? And develops hip and back pain from overcompensating, right? The new conditions are considered secondary. So your primary condition is your knee injury, right? But as a result of that knee injury, whether it's bilateral or it's your right or left knee, you end up developing a condition for your hips and your back, right? Your hips and your lower back. And so, and that right there is a secondary condition because as a result of the primary condition, you develop hip pain, hip issues, and lower back issues, and it's a secondary condition. Okay, we have presumptive. We have our presumptive service connection. Now, sir, here certain conditions are presumed service connected due to specific area. So I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Specific service environments or time frames, and that's very important to know. Like with PAC Act, or when you have the blue water or at Camp Lejeune, right? It's certain areas that Congress has put into law or the president, like with PAC Act, signed into law. These areas are considered presumptive conditions for certain areas during certain time frames. So it's so important that when you communicate with your veteran service representative, that you ask them about the presumptive conditions, or you can do your due diligence and be like, hey, during this time to this time I was in this area, because sometimes, guys, our DD 214 does not paint a clear picture for your veteran service representative to be able to know or get a bigger picture of what's going on. So it's so important that what you communicate to your veteran service representative is very important. So when you sit down with that veteran service officer or representative or that claims agent, it's important that you all communicate where you've been, when you've been, your different exposures. And that does not matter which era of conflict that you could have participated in, or back in the United States, because certain areas in the United States have presumptive conditions attached to it. Okay? So the next area, and the one thing I wanted to bring out about that, an example I wrote here is a Vietnam veteran develops Parkinson's disease, which is presumed to be caused by Agent Orange exposure. Parkinson's disease, certain cancers, depending on where you were, diabetes. It all depends on where you were. So it's so important that you all communicate effectively where you were and when it comes to these presumptive conditions. But another good thing about it is that your veteran service representative, you let them know you have your DD 214, they can put two and two together and connect the dots and cross these. So the next thing, condition, aggravation of a pre-existing condition. A pre-existing condition is something that worsened due to military service. Let's say, for instance, while you were a civilian, that you end up having some type of injury to your shoulder, right? It's a condition that you had prior to coming in, or you probably was dealing with a elbow, leg issue, knee issue, like who knows, whatever it is that is documented now. This is documented in your records when you're going through MEPS. Because in MEPS they ask you 50,011 questions about your health, right? And so in that, they're documenting in your records, hey, this was documented here. So now that you're submitting your VA disability claim, you're like, hey, my shoulder kept knocking out of my collarbone, kept knocking out of place. My shoulder kept getting this large, right? And so what happens is that it's aggravation of a pre-existing condition. And so another example I have, a veteran with pre-existing asthma sees it worsen significantly during deployment in desert conditions, right? So the whole time the veterans was based in America, the different duty assignments, never had asthma, never had a flare up, always got their inhaler, but never had to use it. But as soon as they hit that desert, first asthma attack, second, third, fourth, fifth asthma attack, aggravation has occurred. And that is a reason for you to submit a disability claim. Now, once you connect with your veteran service representative, he or she will know how to properly document application. Okay, so now we have our VA treatment related connection. And that's going to be, you all can reference the 38 USC 1151 for this particular type of service connection. This is when injuries or condition caused by VA medical treatment or care, where injuries or conditions that are caused by VA medical treatment or care. I can remember when I worked for Virginia Department of Veteran Services, I had a veteran come in, and he went in, and I knew it though. He went in with all his teeth, right? And so he came to the office. I was like, hey, what happened? Like, did you get into an altercation? Did you have accident first? Did you get into a accident, or did you get into an altercation? What happened with your mouth like that? He was like, no, I went in for a procedure at the VA. I came out. I was missing my two front teeth. He was telling me that when they was dislodging the tooth from his mouth, and knocked his two front teeth out, right? And so what we had to do is submit a claim to the VA for a VA treatment related condition. And guess what? They had to honor that. They had to honor that. So it's just so important when you go to have medical procedures done at the VA. It's so important that, like, if you, especially if you're going under, have someone there with you so they can look at you. They know how you went in, and they know how you should come out looking, right? And so if something is not right, because documentation matters. And I'm not saying that the VA or the medical provider is not going to do the right thing and be honest, but hey, you are your own advocate. And that's all I got to say about that. Okay. So next, we have our service connection by continuity of symptoms. I'm sorry, apologize for that. Now, these symptoms began during service and continue consistently after discharge. And that's usually the big one that most veterans claim. Symptoms began during service and continue consistently after service. Let's say I'm going to use headaches, right? Migraines. Like, you never had a migraine the whole time that you was a civilian. After basic training, AIT, you get to your unit, you begin to have these massive headaches that leave you debilitated, can't do nothing, can't go to work, can't do nothing, just almost got you getting in trouble because you can't come to formation in the morning time, right? PT formation, accountability formations. And so throughout your military career and after your military career, you're still continuously having these migraines. And that is a reason for you to claim that on your VA disability claim. And then another example I have, a veteran reports back pain during service, later diagnosed as a herniated disc. The claim is granted based on continuous symptoms. Okay, next, we're going to get into the other types of claims through Veterans Benefits Administration. And then after this one, we'll be wrapping it up. Okay, we have increased disability compensation claim. That means that you're already service connected, and then you was like, okay, this condition is getting worse. Like, I think I need to go back and ask for an increase. And that's if an increase is available. And if the increase is available, and if you have not already maxed in that particular contingent. And so, and it's filed when a service connected condition has worsened. A new claim. You've already submitted your claim, but you know what, Marsha, I need to file a new claim for my right leg. I got my left leg issue, but my right leg, I've been overcompensating for my right leg. You know what? Let me file this. No, that's a secondary, so that wasn't good. Let's say something missed on your very first one. So, or you can do your right leg. Like, my right leg is bothering me, and it's bothered me my whole military career. But I just didn't claim it. So we're gonna submit for a newly diagnosed condition that was not previously claimed, and that's important because you do a different form if it was previously claimed, and it won't be considered new. And so it's so important, guys, that in all of this, you might be confused about it, but your veteran service representative, veteran service officer, or your accredited claims agent is not. So it's important that you communicate, talk with them what's going on, and they will be able to guide you the proper way to file these items, right? Next, we have our secondary connection claim. And this is specifically for conditions caused or aggravated by an already service connected disability. For conditions caused or aggravated, that's key, caused or aggravated by an already service connected disability. Then we have our dependency and indemnity compensation, other words, DIC. It's filed by survivors or veterans who died from service connected conditions. So this is specifically for spouses or survivors or children of those who parents who served was getting VA disability and they passed away as a result of that service connected condition. Okay, now we have pension claim, which is non-service connected. And it's filed by wartime veterans with low income who are permanently and totally disabled. Once again, that's filed by wartime, and that's key. Wartime veterans, not peacetime, but wartime veterans with low income. Income matters when it comes to pension, who are permanently and totally disabled. But that will be a whole nother discussion where I can discuss in detail about that. Okay, then we have our SMCs, special monthly compensation. And these are for serious disabilities or specific losses such as loss of limb or aid in attendance. And it's a whole host of them that where you can get an SMC. You can get a SMC for loss of reproductive organ. I think that's SMCK. It's a whole list of SMCs. And once you connect with your veteran service representative, veteran service officer, or your accredited claims agent, he or she will be able to walk you through and see which one of those categories or SMCs that you qualify for. Okay, then we have individual unemployability. And this is filed when service connection conditions prevent gainful employment. Now, a lot of veterans qualify for this, but some don't. And I think that they don't apply for this particular the IU, individual unemployability, is because they just ill-informed, right? And so when you are, if you have filed your claim, right, and you did not come back 100%, but you're unable to work because of your service connected conditions. And then it's a list of things that you have to do, has to go to your employer and different things like that. It's so important that when you connect with your veteran service representative, your veteran service officer, or your accredited claims agent, that that individual needs to make sure that you're equipped and that you're knowledgeable on the processes and how to go about, because that's a roundabout way of getting to 100%, but it's a whole lot of other factors that go into that. So it's so important, guys, that you all get the proper education when you go to your veteran service representative, veteran service officer, or accredited claims agent, so he or she can be able to inform you so you're well prepared for your claim submission. Okay, then we have our appeals and supplemental claims. And these are filed when challenging a denial or unsatisfactory decision. And it can come in the form of a higher level review, a supplemental claim, or board appeal. So, but that's a little bit, a lot more in detail and in depth conversation. I'm just bringing you awareness of it, making you knowledgeable of the different things. But later on in the months, more than likely July, I would give a class. And if I don't hit the class this year, most definitely it will be one of the classes that I present to you all in 2026. And so then we have our intent to file. And that's the easiest one, guys. It preserves your effective date while you gather documents. Must be filed within 1 year of the intent to file date, right? And so that, I think, is the best thing the VA could have created for us, because what it does is that it gives you the opportunity to gather your evidence, right? Because sometimes people know I want to file a claim, but I don't have all the supporting documentation. But one thing that does is secures that date as effective date. And in some cases now, sometimes if you get a diagnosis within that effective date, within that time frame, that year, it's up to your veteran service representative at VA to determine, okay, I'm going to go with this date or I'm going to go with that date. They do have that choice. So, with that being said, you can fight it or you can show that it always existed, but you only got diagnosed here. So, but that's a whole nother conversation that you can communicate with your veteran service representative who's helping you with your VA disability claim. And then the last thing we have is our ancillary benefits claims, and that's including our clothing allowance, your adaptive housing, vehicle grants, education for dependents. And so, and once, if you're in that category, let's say for instance for dependents, once you get 30%, then you could file a claim to add your dependents to your VA disability claim, right? 30% or more. But it's so much more into that that you can present to your people, right? And so, and with that being said, as we get ready to close out here, I just want you all to know that, my purpose of coming on here is to provide a little education. It's up on LinkedIn, it's up on YouTube, it's forever gonna be up on Facebook and now Instagram. Hi, Instagram family. So where you all can go back, or if you know an active duty service member, or you know a veteran that could benefit from this information, tag them, tag it, tag them in it, share it with them, share it on your platforms for all your veterans. Hey, be like, hey, veterans, check this out. There's some information for you to utilize just in case you need. If you haven't gotten to 100% yet, you need to trying to get to 100%. Are you stuck? Don't know which way, how to do it, where to go? It's the information is out there. I'm sharing it. So, but if you want to come in the office and talk to one of our veteran VA disability research specialists, I would tell you to contact me either by phone 1-800-817-6180. That's 1-800-817-6180. By my website, www.youarestillaveteran.com. That's www.youarestillaveteran.com. Or you could come here if you're in the Central Texas area and you have time to come into the office. I'm here at the office usually Monday through Friday. If I'm not here, we'll soon be getting an assistant, a front desk person where she will be able to receive you if I'm in the office and get you started on this journey. Our address is 2303 South Fort Hood Street, Building 1 in Killeen, Texas. That's 2303 South Fort Hood Street, Building 1, Killeen, Texas. And so with that being said, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to the replay since you wasn't able to catch us. And I will see you all on Friday. And what are we talking about on Friday? Friday. What's today? The 23rd? Not Friday, Wednesday. We'll be discussing understanding the 38 CFR Part 4. Now, this right here, this is my baby, y'all. That 38 CFR, that's just like the basic instructions and how to navigate VA. Just like the AR 670-1. That was one of my favorite regulations in the Army, right? So, and the 38 CFR is what the VA is governed by. So we're going to be going over that on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. You don't want to miss it. Set your alarm clocks, do your reminders, and tune in. So with that being said, y'all have an amazing evening. Enjoy your family, whatever it is that you do, and be blessed.